6 of us. Normal going over two
agendas.
2 minutes. Is it 2 minutes?
Anybody need a pen?
Sure, I'll take a shot.
Mike, did you get both of them?
Oh, no, I have May 6th, I don't have 11.
Did you get May 6th and April 1st?
So what is,
Oh, wait, I need to-
what is stealing? I just thought I'd ask. You know, consistent stealing, what is that?
Oh, I get you.
Did we? I almost feel
I think that's kind of cute.
I do. I like it also.
That's one of those Freudian slip
That is
things.
approved.
That says until, are they approved?
No. What was the one I saw yesterday? Someone actually commented on a thing on the internet saying that someone misspelled something, and they said that they misspelled it. Double whammy. So it's like she was wrong because she was correcting something that wasn't misspelled, and then she wrote spelt. It was like,
Well,
whoa.
Could be
Hey, that's a
English.
really good kind of brain. I think,
That's contagious. Poor girl. I'm like, oh
It
man.
could be Old English. It might be on
She's
top
about
of this
15, or no, she's about 19. I was like, I don't know if she's digging into the old English yet.
Okay.
I was like, oh,
Middle English maybe.
yeah.
I hate the spell check. I'm trying to make words that I don't want to make.
Mm.
What is the easement that's still out there?
It had been, I think when we did, right?
I didn't want to.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Okay.
Cool.
Me?
That's what he keeps sending to us.
Yeah, it was the 3 of us. I'm pretty sure we've all done it now, so, in the last 2 months.
Oh, I don't know why.
I like to note though that that's still in the log for when you and Dave went out and you said you got chased off with a gun.
Oh, no, I think that's in his information. At least I didn't see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, kind of said you got chased
Oh, I
off
got chased off.
with someone possessing a firearm.
Yeah. I didn't see that. But I
Yeah.
wonder if they want me to use my arm.
I don't think you
It's gonna get
belong.
shot at. You know?
Yeah.
It was pretty unpleasant. That's why after that, I'm like, we need to send a letter. Just forewarn people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lorraine's a very nice lady.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen anything change besides adding Brian to the members who were here last month, or in May, sorry. I think that's the one change so far.
Motion to approve the May?
Sounds great. Anyone
So
second?
moved. Second. After that.
All in favor of
Okay.
approving the agenda? And then any changes for the April?
Yeah, the spelling error.
Spelling error, all right.
And then I think is it spelled with an A? Is that
It's
where-
discussed later down.
I know,
at the
and I
bottom,
think
yeah.
they decided with the A.
Yeah,
Okay, because it's with the E in that first sentence.
I know, but it's probably on purpose with spelling.
Gotcha.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve the April one?
I'll move. So-
Second. All in favor? Yay, thank you.
Okay.
We're good.
Alright, we're gonna keep,
We're on the May one? I have one thing for the May.
besides your name,
Yeah,
just that I was here.
you were out of the room.
you were out of the room.
Oh, what's that?
You want to change something? Make it
So you were
clear?
there?
I was there.
Oh.
Is it something important? We could reapprove it if you feel strongly about it.
What?
Well, it said he was here.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Okay, yeah, he got it. Never mind. I thought it was something else.
Not a content here.
All right,
Bachelor.
on to this month. Prospect Farm is not weed killing, or hiring or whatevering at the stump dump. The stuff that we burned last fall is definitely growing back.
Did you, I haven't been up there to look, do you notice, is it still in the same spots or is it spread to?
It's mostly in the same spots. It doesn't seem like it's spread. And I feel like that's maybe one of the more important, like, I don't know if it's more important, but there's not a lot of knotweed other than at that one spot up that far upriver.
Could you burn in place the knotweed?
You still have to pull it. You can't burn it where it is. I wouldn't want to burn it because it's kind of like around the edge of the stump dump.
Can you actually get the roots out?
Say yes and no, sometimes.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that.
I'd say the beginning of when we were doing it, I was definitely getting the roots out. After hour 2, I was less successful.
I know this isn't.
That's what I'm saying, some of the time.
Yeah.
I know this isn't popular, but normally, I mean, I worked on milfoil. I invaded the state as part of my PhD, and when you get a small area like that, you're probably better off to hit it with an herbicide that'll kill the root system than to hand pull it, because hand pulling is a no-win game. I know a lot of people have reservations about that, but.
Well, it's the Roundup stuff.
Huh?
It's the Roundup stuff.
It is,
It's gonna
yeah.
have bad consequences on down the road, but I don't have kids, so.
It's,
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
get concerned about that stuff. you
yeah,
know?
the way, I mean, we treated it with milfoil was when you had because a lot of times it first came in a marina, if you hit it there, you're actually doing a very small chemical treatment, but you're probably gonna knock it out, kill it for good. If it gets widely infested, then you're into widespread herbicide, and you might as well look at managing it as opposed to trying to get rid of it, and herbicides probably don't have a role. But when you have very small areas, you're probably better off because you can do a spot application to it. And
What were you using?
Huh?
What were you using?
We use nut Silvex when we were doing milfoil, but we tried a couple different things, but Silvex was, it's all in that same family of essentially plant growth hormone. But, it's a spot treatment. It isn't like you're widespread treating everything, but usually pulling a vegetative responding invasive like that is a tough game to win.
Yeah, I don't think we don't even come close to winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, like down here,
This
we've
is-
been up, but up there, like, I feel like we have it's at a point where we could, with some effort.
Yeah,
make it
I mean, you get a little
go away.
bit on Wilson Road and you get a bunch on, those are still,
It's taken over, we had a whole bunch at the falls, we had cross street from the falls.
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you can-
I mean, yeah, the stuff in town, it's like, I guess I guess traditionally the commission has just looked at the pieces on three properties we manage rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
townwide. But I imagine before I joined, there was conversations about the spraying that the town does, which I get the impression is gonna happen again this
Yeah.
fall, townwide.
The workshop that I went to a couple months ago from DS, I think about half a year ago now, basically was saying, if it's small, you should aggressively go after it. And if it's not small, then you should just,
Manage it.
yeah.
It's like milfoil is in Winnipesaukee, you're never gonna get rid of it without.
That's almost
Real
and I
nasty.
think we may have even talked about that's kind of the difference between why we decided to go up there and pull that day versus we kind of gave up down here. Because we kind of decided that this was,
Yeah, it's there.
yeah.
I mean, usually you gotta hit it with a spot and then come back and hit it maybe a second or third time. But, a lot of those herbicides get translocated down, get into the root system, which is what you have to do, or you're back there next year doing the same thing all over.
Or you can cook it and give it to Mike.
Yeah, yeah, we did that. We ate it. Yeah, it was good. I'm not opposed to spraying it if we can contain it there because it doesn't seem like it's really anywhere else up there, and it would be nice to try and stop it before it is everywhere up there.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to a chemical treatment.
I feel similarly, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You want an education campaign with it though, so that people, I mean, if the town is already spraying, but, because,
Yeah, I guess I feel like the question for us is whether we schedule a work session this summer and go pull it ourselves and whatever, or presumably ask it to be included this fall and the rest of the town whatever the town is having done roadside.
And they're having a professional come in?
Yeah,
That's the way I would do it.
yeah, because you need like the, whatever, that.
Respirators
location,
and that sort of stuff, yeah.
All of it, yeah.
I think it makes more sense to incorporate, yeah.
All right,
Well, I feel like we're punting. If we're just punting because we know it's gonna come back and grow, well, then we'll spray it again anyway.
well, that one spot, I feel, well, I don't mean, I obviously we might need to treat it a couple, I don't know. I guess I'm hopeful that there's not that much of it and it hasn't, you know, it's less vigorous looking than last year, but it's definitely still there. And if we could get rid of it and not
Mhm.
have it essentially be in the upper watershed of the Wildcat, where everywhere else I've seen it is, you know, basically from Black Mountain hiking trail down in the watershed. And that's the only spot I've seen it way, way upstream.
Mhm.
And presumably it's from stump dumping. You know,
Yeah.
Was in the soils that came with it.
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
So are you suggesting we not?
No, I'm saying if we feel like pulling just means it comes back, then I feel like we're just punting until we end up spraying it anyway.
Yeah, I see.
Oh.
So if that's the case, if it's at a point where it's manageable and we feel like it's at a point where we could do the minimal amount of spraying, I'm not big on spraying, but I agree with what's being said, that if it's a manageable amount, and that's the best way to hopefully eradicate it.
You gotta get the roots.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know the specifics of the application, but I think they can do it. Well, I don't know if they do like the cut and
Yeah,
spray.
sometimes they cut and inject, sometimes they,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would be like the, well, I guess we could check on the method where they apply it, but I imagine it would be like the cut and then spray the stumps rather than, you know, product.
Yeah, I don't know what they use now, because some of them you want to put it on the leaf so that it actually gets absorbed and then
Yeah.
translocated down into the
Yeah.
root system.
I see.
The professionals should know.
yeah, and they're different,
that. Yeah.
different techniques and different, depending on the wetland versus dry areas.
Yeah.
Well, if we have to the fall before they are gonna come around and spray, do we wanna try and get up there for the fall, take a look at it, and then come to a vote? Does that make sense to go, just so that we have an idea? Like if we, you know, if we get up there and it's like, it's sprayed like crazy, or if we get up there and like, oh, maybe we could just hand pull it, but do we wanna look at it first before we would?
Yeah, I'm
That
fine
makes
with
sense to
that.
like get up there, look at it, and then,
As long as we don't miss our opportunity to have it be sprayed.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
I
that's
don't know,
true.
I don't know the timescale.
Okay.
Besides, in reference to the stuff by the bench at the Stone Bridge, Pat just mentioned offhand that they're having, the town, I think, is having the roadside stuff sprayed this fall, similar to when it was 2 years ago, I forget
Yeah.
now.
and you're right in that we should put out some education, or we should get in the forefront of it.
Yeah,
Because I feel like people will feel differently about spraying at Prospect Farm than they do the side of Moody Farm Road or something like that.
I would have guessed the opposite, but
Yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah, I would have guessed that, like, because you're far away, I mean, right, so I feel
Yeah,
generally with
you'll
things
just hit
like,
different people.
yeah,
That's true.
Look at the opposites.
People feel very strongly about Prospect Farm.
yeah, well, I usually feel like the, you know, dilution is the solution to pollution kind of
I
thing. you know,
felt that
like-
strongly, they wouldn't have a stump dump, but that's
That's-
beside the point.
Right.
Is that the town stump dump?
It is,
The one that's just past the gate up there?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Buggy Road.
And it's unclear to me whether, I mean, it's clearly still active, although I thought it was supposed to be going into remission essentially.
Yeah, I thought many years ago it was like the,
That could be
it was
part of
the
the
end.
question. It does look like there's still activity, or maybe they just tidied it up. And I don't know,
Is that on Prospect land or on Forest Service
it's
land?
on Prospect Land.
It is, because the gate's before the Forest Service land.
The boundary's like just after this.
Just
stuff.
after.
The stump dump's like halfway.
I knew the boundary's right in
The
there.
boundary and the gate.
That's right, too,
There's a
because
second one though, isn't there?
The
Forest
Forest,
Service has one?
the
I
Forest
think you're
Service
right.
has one further up now, because they were, when they made the new double head parking lot, they were dragging their stumps up there and bringing fill back from
Okay,
further out there.
that's why it looked
Yeah.
like it'd been updated. I was,
No, the Forest Service created basically 2 new stump dumps, but it looked like it's soil also. That
Yes.
Well, like maybe soil they didn't want for the parking lot, just to flatten it.
yeah.
And then they have kind of that gravel bank up there right before it dumps
Right.
down to the Wildcat. They were hauling gravel out of the gravel bank for the parking lot.
Ah, good job, detective.
We were like walking a lot last fall, and like, what are all these big trucks?
I
I blame
was,
them for being the knotweed action.
I just saw like the end product like a couple times. I'm like, this is being tweaked here. And then I saw it covered with loam. And then I saw ours, the town's.
So step one is to find out when
Yeah.
they're spraying.
Yeah.
And then step two is to figure out if we have time to go up and look at it.
Yes. Because then-
Yeah, we should check with the town, but normally you want to spray it when the plant is still biologically active, not
Yeah,
in senescence. 'Cause, yeah.
I can ask Pat.
But isn't that kind of what they're doing by spraying in the fall?
Well, it depends in the fall because.
September, I thought, yeah.
Yeah,
Snow
Yeah.
growing.
I
yeah.
presume it's, well, I don't know, I assume knotweed pulls energy back into its roots also in the fall, and so is that part of the
Yeah, I mean, again, there's different herbicides and they do different things, but a lot of those essentially are, well, some of them are growth hormone, which just gets the plant to grow so fast it kills itself.
oh,
Um, and I don't know what they're using. But usually you want to hit them when they're still biologically real active, not.
Yeah, I was just reading about Chernobyl and all the plants that came back after being hit with the radioactive, because they said plants can't get cancer. And they said they have a way around things.
There's a great book on Chernobyl that shows that the place with the most endangered species in Europe and that part of Asia is no man's land around Chernobyl. The human impact is so much greater than the radiation.
Yes. I mean, that is
Yeah.
a commentary.
Yeah.
It is, it's an incredible, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a,
And the animals are flourishing. Not
Yeah.
the birds, but the animals, yeah.
do we want to try to go up individually or as a group? I don't know if we want to schedule like a day to go up, either, because it's July right now, so we should probably go up this month if we're going to go look at it as a group. Or if not, we could individually take walks up there and look at the amount. Just if we're going to go up more than 3 together, we need to post the meeting and all that, so.
I'm willing to allow anybody else to look at it and tell me what they think.
I could go after the 14th. I don't have time.
Could always take pictures and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
send them around.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds like individual.
Sounds like individual pictures shared to the group. And then I'll ask Pat when, if we need to do anything before August. Okay, great. On to Jackson Falls, thanks for getting the soil.
Yeah, nice job.
Topsoil.
Fred was on top of it.
Good.
But I don't have his bill yet. Do I give it to Julie? What do I do with that?
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't matter which Julie.
It does, no, you can send it to
No,
both,
to
but-
the right one, we'll get it to the,
The other one. Yeah. Okay.
Did I see that you listed Bob and Dawson out there?
I did.
That's
Oh,
good.
nice.
Bob Dawson and Dawson's girlfriend.
Whoa.
It still took us like an hour and a half to move stuff, but.
We should use it.
We should thank them too.
Well,
Yes.
that's
I
because
came like that night
Yeah.
and I was like
Yeah,
already taken care
had to move it. So, and I appreciate everybody's offers.
Yeah, I was amazed because I drove by the pile and then I don't know when I drove back and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, when you've got willing bodies, you have to take advantage.
Well, thank you
But,
very
oh,
much.
sure. But the sod thing, I'm kind of concerned, I'm trying to schedule it for Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. because that's when I can get my volunteers. And I don't know if anybody's interested, but I don't know if it's a good time to do it. It seems like it's so hot, you know, I just want the stuff to survive. It's gonna take a lot of watering.
Mhm.
This
As people go
Wednesday.
by this Wednesday morning.
Yeah, there's a forecast is dry for the
Thursday.
Thursday, Friday, and a
Saturday.
chance of showers on Friday.
Saturday.
of. It's quite hot too.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, it would require, I can call, because I haven't heard back, so I don't know if he can even do it. Or they may have already cut it, I don't know.
Mhm.
But it's gonna require a lot of watering to keep it. I got some peat moss and some, compost for the sites too, just because it's gonna need something to hold the water in.
My
See, that's the
hose,
thing
my
about-
hose won't reach across.
Yeah, I know. Too bad.
But
Same with me, you could
buckets.
Is what?
If you had a,
If only you had a river.
yeah.
Did you
Say-
divert?
But no, with enough hose, yeah, you can just go upstream a little bit and start a siphon out of it.
Now, that would be nice.
You can just do it that way.
Does the highway department have a little pump?
You can see if you go off of the
You know, just like
the Rocky Club there.
an irrigation pump.
Yeah.
Then you could just take it right out of the river and put it right on it.
Mm-hmm. Right, there isn't much pitch in the river there.
You have to
Ups.
pull up the.
Yeah, you have to go
pull
quite
up
a ways
over
to
the
get any
rocks.
head pressure.
I know.
Get the fire department.
Okay, today, 3 weeks, we need you there.
Or just start a small fire.
And just string a hose right from the fire pond and Valley Cross.
I like the idea of going from Bill's house, just right down the driveway, across the street.
Hey, I already have a hose all the way out to the front.
Yeah.
You do, because you've got plantings
Yeah.
out there, so you just need a hose, right?
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, I won't be able to make it on Wednesday, but I can definitely water
Okay,
if need be afterwards. I guess
Yeah.
Wednesday night and then I'm back Friday.
okay, cool. I think it can never be overwatered.
All right.
And I think just putting it off is just gonna delay the inevitable too, because then it won't have a chance to, I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
Just get it in,
Yeah,
Get it in?
might as well.
Okay.
then we'll worry about the water.
Okay.
Yep.
Like the executive decision, thank you.
The overflow parking signs, I think we roughly decided on last time. I was supposed to call Pat, then the bridge got not used for a while and I kind of let it lie. But it was the signs basically directing people to the now like approved again Jackson overflow lot. So unless there's any comment, I can actually ask Pat to put them up. I think we had agreed on some variation of, like overflow parking this way and then one at the pointing into the parking lot and then one in the parking lot. And it's for summer months only.
And the fire pond, I'm sure it is. It's like super signed, like do not park or do not park.
No.
I don't think there's any
No.
signs.
Would
there.
people, I mean, would people that get confused and park there? And
Yes.
Potentially get
And they
ticketed?
do all the time.
And they will, and they never have before last year.
Yeah, it does have,
No,
it has the two signs that point at each
I've
other.
only been here 4 years, I can't say before then, but every year
was last year,
I walk my
noticed
dogs
it.
down there
Yeah.
every day. And
Okay. See if that's-
every time there's overcrowding down by the falls, that lot gets 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah, I can't believe the town doesn't.
And it's like, it says no parking, and it's like,
Okay. But it is a sign. I mean,
It's-
it's,
it's
so if we
sign.
put up a sign that says additional parking this way, so that people don't get confused and think, well, your sign told me to park here.
Yeah,
Right.
and usually, I mean, like, there's the standard, like, P sign, so you can be like, I figure when you see a parking garage in the city, you see the sign that says overflow parking this way, and then you see the thing
Yeah.
that confirms you're in
you'd
the
think
spot.
Pat would put up, just a sawhorse kind of thing, and just say, no parking here.
I mean, it's like the fire right out in front of the Jackson Ski Touring Foundation on the other side, I think with the hydrant. I think there's a hydrant there, but it's posted as fire hydrant, no parking.
Yeah, I think the two that are there are no parking between signs.
There are, yeah. And there's a pile of rock rubble on the
Okay.
right-hand side.
If that requires reading,
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing I had was signs. Going back to we have the little signs that say "Welcome to Jackson Falls" on the stakes that are some are there, some are not.
and the posts are rotting.
Yeah. So I guess the question I have is whether we want to redo those little ones that say just a bullet point, "Welcome to Jackson Falls" with 3 little bullet points, or if we want to revisit the idea of a bigger sign. And this is maybe more kind of what was suggested years ago when we were defining the paths and everything.
So one sign instead of the 3 little signs that tend, or the
Either-
little signs that tend to get.
Or one
bigger.
bigger sign and smaller signs at this, what you want to consider the secondary entrances. And I was thinking particularly as the undergrowth is getting taller, I think the entrances will become more and more defined, but we want to help people get to them. I was thinking about this as I was driving by, because you can no longer see the river everywhere. I feel like you used to always be able to see the river and you could kind of be like, oh, I want to go down there. But a bigger, I don't know, not kiosk, but just a bigger sign to tell people to be like, no, you should go here. I think the hard part is there's really 3 main entrances depending where you park. And I
Yeah.
don't know that it's worth 3 signs, but
I've always liked the idea of a kiosk, but I also like interpretive things. So.
And I think you'd put it down by the main parking lot,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
one by the main parking area would be good.
okay,
And then I think smaller signs elsewhere.
yeah,
But not too many.
yeah. Well, we can keep them at the same, main entrance spots where we've had them. And those ones are little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are only other 3 other spots that people
Yeah.
should be coming in.
I've always thought, yeah, just a kiosk that basically the, carry in, carry out, the little ground rules. Could even have a little map that shows the walkways on it, something like that. And more than anything, something that identifies it as town land. Like this is managed by the town of Jackson, that's what you're on. Because, it could be confusing as to whether.
And the wild and scenic designation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the wild and scenic designation would be nice. I always thought just a little something.
Info.
Look, tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to tell a story in draft form for the group?
Well, I can, but if I do it, it's going to be like a 3-panel interpretive display. That's my background. That's what it would be. It's going to have a house on it. It's going to be.
You can do that and then bring it in and see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like it's better to start with more and then put less.
You can offer that up to the editors, right?
Yeah, the audio version.
No, I'd be fine doing that.
All right, thank you, Mike. Great.
In 20 words or less.
That I can't do.
Just a magnified tweet.
Just think you're gonna have to hand carve it out of wood.
I think it'd be good if it's an audio, you just push the red button,
Yeah.
Mike's voice starts.
Tour.
It'd be like the Outer Road with good old Steve D.
Oh, better still, one of those little, things that you take a picture of and it comes up with the internet site.
Oh, the Q. What's it
Yeah.
called?
Q reader, whatever.
Yeah.
It's out there.
You could do that.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of what it's called now.
That would be
How cool that would be.
Yes.
Modern times.
Like we're in the
Yeah, we don't need to go there.
Anything else for falls?
20th century.
Well, no, this is not directly related to the falls.
I was just gonna say wood chips we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Didn't
I don't know why they
what to do.
haven't been dropped.
When am I gonna do it?
Well, it's come up several times.
Okay, well, we may just need to give them like a location, say.
Oh, we did
decide
that.
on it. Okay.
Yeah, I imagine it depends to a certain degree if he's driving it.
Sometimes
Like,
it's just,
in
no.
town.
Yeah, or
No
if your
thanks.
car's there or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are other people, but I'll pester him again.
Yeah, and I know in the past for other people with chips, it's like if he's driving by, he'll dump them, but if he has to drive extra from where he would normally dump them, then we could change, then we could offer money for the essentially trucking.
I'm trying to think where he's shipping right now. He might be at the Thompson house.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. I'll send him a text. I'll do it when we walk out of the door. I'll send him a text.
Right. I don't have anything for Gray's Inn.
No, I did the Mystery House loop. I cleared there must have been 15 trees down, and there's probably 3 that I need to do with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Unless someone else is, I'm just saying, if someone was going out there and they were looking for something to do, there's a couple trees that could use a chainsaw.
How's the poison ivy? Is that bad?
Well, they did a nice job mowing right out,
Oh,
you know? But then once you cross the bridge, you're back into your own,
Yeah.
it's the jungle.
It's not as bad across the bridge though, if I remember.
No.
Isn't it like really? Like,
It's
like-
right,
like-
It's
yeah.
right, it's where the
That's
sun
right,
is.
yeah.
It requires a
I
mix
tend to go
of sun and
through
shade.
the old orchard and then up. And it
Gotcha.
keeps you away from the poison ivy. And then go up Wigglesworth.
And if you want to read the slow things from the library, you have to go
Yeah.
through the poison ivy.
Right, that's true. That'll teach him. Price for education.
You see that stuff on there, just rub it on your face.
I do have 2 things. that
Takes
are-
away the black fly itch, right?
Yeah, right. Mask it. I have two things that came up. One of them I don't have any. What's that?
For Gray's Inn?
No.
Okay. That's okay.
I thought
Oh, okay.
We're done with grazing?
Unless,
No, I'll wait to the very end.
okay. The written procedures was a request from the town office to actually have written procedures for every board. As people don't pass on verbally procedures from their given boards. That's the idea to, I don't know, I had a job once where they called it like the bus rule in case somebody got hit by a bus, you know. We don't really have that many procedures, so I guess I'm
Right.
wondering what.
That'll make it an easy job.
Yeah.
We basically put out the same agenda every
Yes,
month, right?
yeah, write the same, copy and paste the agenda. The only thing I could think of is what we do for wetlands permits, which isn't even that much of a procedure in that the state tells you how to submit it to the town, so we don't have, it's not like we have a protocol on how you submit it, to my understanding. We do have a procedure on like the 3-person subcommittee that goes out and looks at the wetland applications, and then
Right.
the chair and the vice chair has to sign it, but.
And the other thing really is the conservation easements.
I was gonna say the easement one and
Yeah, okay.
paying the annual dues to be.
Yeah.
Well, this happens every year.
Yeah, so those are the 2 I could think of, I guess or the one I thought of in the second one now. Anything else?
Easements.
Easements, wetlands.
Do you have operational, like it's required to have a quorum Is that decided by the board? Or the
No,
commission, or
that's
is that
quorum is a
decided
requirement by the state.
by the state?
It's RSA.
Seems like Bill would be really good at writing this procedure type thing. It's like really technical. Just saying.
All right, so those are the two things. I can try to do it with some help.
I'd be happy to help.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Bill.
The stream crossing database, Jeff is coming back from vacation, so I think we can skip that one. Seem-
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's nice. He's motivated. It's awesome.
I'm willing to work with them on it. I'm familiar with the whole AOP stuff.
Okay. That'd be great. And I don't know enough to really describe it without him here, so.
It's essentially looking at culverts and whether aquatic organisms can pass through.
Yeah.
You know, when you get a perched culvert, it's highly problematic.
Yeah.
You have other culverts which, you know, in theory would be problematic, like the first one you cross on Wilson Road, but there's trout in that thing. They swim up through, I watch them all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Under that, the bridge that goes over Wilson Road.
Yeah, just after you come onto Wilson Road, there's a culvert there. Particularly, it blows out a pool just below, and you can see 15, 20 of them there by the time, the end of the summer. Just, you know, little native 3-5 inch guys, but they swim up through that culvert. Others, they can't move at all.
And why is that one successful, that culvert?
It all has to do with, you know, once a culvert gets really perched,
High up.
then a lot of them can't get, I mean, it depends on the organism. And that culvert, it kind of almost gets filled in with sand because of the gradient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, others, if it's just bare metal, then a lot of organisms just don't want to go in.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's only stream crossings, right? It has nothing to do with just a, you know,
A culvert to do a
Culvert.
driveway to.
that has a lot of water in it. Period.
Yeah, I mean, the focus, and I mean, I have to take a look at the stuff that Jeff has, but I suspect that what the state is focusing in on is roads. And then the other problem with culverts is, particularly with the high flows now, a lot of them are undersized for the size of runoff, so then they blow out. Because of runoff, I mean, the bigger events are happening frequently.
And bigger.
And, yeah, and a lot of times, towns will put in undersized culverts just for the simple reason it's cheaper,
Yeah.
it's smaller.
Yeah.
And in the long run, it isn't cheaper, but in the short run, it is.
Yeah, and since we have a lot of state roads coming through Jackson with 16B, they're doing a good job of taking care of what's there. They just replaced a culvert by the post office. They're looking at another one up at, above Valley Cross. So they,
Well, the big push now is to try to stay away from culverts, but it's much more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, either that or use an arched culvert or a small bridge.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really neat.
but they're mostly storm drains that they're worried about.
Yeah.
The Wild and Scenic Grant, the next one, is a grant that was due, it would be due on the 3rd, but it was a process through which you can apply for grants to do things like knotweed eradication or other things along Wild and Scenic Rivers. So I have to imagine we're gonna miss that one for this year, but I think it seems like I got known last month.
Yeah, we should try to make sure it gets on our agenda,
Yeah,
Earlier,
our
Yeah,
calendar,
like
maybe a
next week.
calendar.
yeah.
We could have a calendar set up so that would be.
Is that through the Forest Service? Or?
I believe
Or
that one, I have to
NRCS
go
or-
look at it. I forgot, I don't know if I forwarded that one to everyone when I went through it.
Didn't
I
I
thought
did
it wasn't
not
that
see that.
much, was it? It was like $500 or
Yeah, it was a
something.
small one,
Yeah.
but it was,
I'll recall seeing that.
okay, I'll make sure I did actually forward it to everyone. Conservation easements, we need the letters to go out, just me asking the Julies again. I haven't gotten anything from wetlands. This,
So the Julies send out the letters, we don't have to do. Okay.
correct, yeah. I just want to make sure I have the right I have to go back and I think update one address in it from when the last time I sent them out. But I think that's the only change.
Tom, if you can send me this stuff on the grant.
Yeah.
Understanding July
Yeah.
3rd is coming. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
going to be quick, but
Yeah.
I'd be happy to
Yeah.
take a shot at it. Thanks, Brian.
By July 3rd of the next one.
Yeah, and I think it'd be identifying what we'd want to do. I mean, it's not a lot, but, and then applying for it.
Do you need an address of the homeowner, or what did you say you need an address?
Well, last time when we sent out, or every time we send out the letters for the conservation easements, we say if you have any, if the information we have is not correct. And there was just a change in address
Okay.
to one of them. So I just have to make sure I actually updated well, I'm sure the file that the Julies have hasn't been updated, so I just need to provide them with a new address.
If I understand it correctly, the Tilneys did apply for to add to their easement
Yeah.
with the selectmen, and it was approved
Oh, great.
at the last select person's meeting.
Oh, good.
Is that current use or because I thought they had decided not to put
Oh,
any
yeah.
property into conservation easement.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought they decided to put into current use.
Oh, I don't know,
'Cause I think
because
that's on our last.
that was,
We talked about
I'm
that.
just reading from the board minutes.
Okay, so it was conservation easement? Or
That's what it
current use?
said.
Okay.
Yeah, they approved it. And I don't know.
Yeah, it was in the, everything was legal.
Yeah, we did talk about it maybe 2 months ago,
Because they wrote a letter saying this is what we want to
Yeah.
do. and-
right? Because didn't they contact you and
They
say?
did. Well, they contacted the town office to ask,
Yeah.
and I gave them what I presume is still our stock position that the Conservation Commission encourages those who want to put their land into easement to do so, but to do it
Yeah,
through
that
Upper Saco Valley Land
Right.
Trust rather than the
Right.
town at this point in time. However, the town would be willing to
Yeah.
accept, et cetera.
So since they're-
Maybe I misread the
use-
minutes of the board, the select board meeting.
No, I mean, they also could have decided to just go ask the select board and
Right, that was back in April, so that would have happened in March, basically. That information that we talked about in April.
Yeah,
Right.
so no
The board
conservation
meeting,
easement.
that minutes I was reading was like
Check
2
with Upper
weeks
Saco,
ago.
see if they,
Maybe in the last couple months, they've changed the number.
But you think they would send something to us?
Yeah, well,
Not
we could be the last
necessarily.
to find out.
Yeah,
We'll just-
apparently no.
They still need to come back to the planning board to redraw their lines. They've not done that yet.
Okay.
I expect that they'll happen.
That's where they're cutting off the house to settle.
Yeah, they're gonna, basically, they gave us a preliminary on it there at the board meeting. It's a much larger acreage, 40 acres, and they're going to peel off a smaller area, including the pond and the house,
Yeah.
as a separate lot. And then the only question we had for the engineers was make sure that wherever you draw the line, the smaller lot that has the house on it has adequate septic, alternative septic placement. To make sure that they know it better than we do.
Yeah.
They just drew a line, kind of like, and it's like, all right, it's okay. From your perspective, we're not gonna ask you to dig any holes, but darn well, check it and make sure it's gonna be good, because you don't want whoever's gonna buy that house eventually to
Right.
have a problem.
Because they would,
Yeah.
All right, I think that's everything I have. I guess this is kind of wetlands. This is back from May. I don't know if I didn't bring it. No, got it after the May meeting. This is the same thing the town got for the work that the state's doing on the culverts out on 16. So it's just the Conservation Commission's copy of the state's notification about what they're doing out there. With their hand-drawn map, which I thought was very creative.
the state?
Yeah. Where they're putting in the new culverts over there across the covered bridge.
Yeah, again, they got approval from the select board to
Yeah.
proceed.
So where is it again?
It's the work they're doing over right now, just,
Okay.
This is kind
Just
of,
over the
it
road.
looks like they finished, but
It's pretty much done,
yeah.
except for the sign that says it's not paid, which it is.
So I gotta go back to easements real quick. And then May minutes, you say there's still one easement due to the Spinnaker website. Is that me?
No, you did yours.
Okay, good. All right.
That's all I want to know.
Don't care anymore. Moving forward.
Okay.
All right, that's what I've got. We got Brian. Do your things.
so I got, this is from Kevin Bennett, building inspector. So he sent me an email about the parking lot, the Jackson Ski Tour parking lot on Carter Notch Road. And he has told me that it's supposed to be seeded and loaned every year. And I
I
guess
believe
he feels
that's correct.
The like Woodchuck Field one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said he feels it hasn't been done, and he brought it up to me. So, not that we have any enforcement, but.
I knew it was brought up and Ellen has it on her punch list.
Okay,
Whether she's
good.
got to do it or not is a separate question.
Yeah, so
He's a
he'll,
good guy to have.
so that,
Commissioner.
and then this
Was
one.
that recent that he got back in touch with you?
Because
I don't know whether they
I'm
did.
gonna just look at my email here, because he might have sent it to me earlier, and then he sent me this one, and both attachments are on it. Let me just go back to the Jackson Ski Tournament. All right. Well, this one got bundled on, so they might have forwarded a second time, but this is from June 20th. And then I have one here, it says Wildcat River Water Quality. It's the Wildcat River Comprehensive River Management Plan. And it's very vague, and there's some highlighted details on this comprehensive plan, but basically it's saying that there's supposed to be a water monitoring plan for the Wildcat River corridor that's been developed and implemented. 7 water quality monitoring sites throughout the corridor. So he's just basically asking, he asked me, do you know about this? And is this taking place?
Well, I know Phil Davies used to do water quality tests. He did it for a certain period of time. It was about sediment. And then he stopped.
Yeah, so it's, maybe that's why Kevin picked up on it. So we were talking about a building project that we're working on, and this just came up quickly, so he sent this to me. And there's not enough information because I'm only getting like 3 pages
Yeah.
of it, so I don't.
I assume it's an excerpt from the management plan, which
Yeah.
was created because it's a wild and scenic river.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which
Our
I-
service may actually have responsibility on that. You have to check on that.
I believe, if I remember correctly, the Forest Service does on Forest Service land, and then in town, the select board ultimately has responsibility for enforcement of it via mostly planning rules and zoning.
Right.
But we're the advisory committee that's supposed to bring it to the attention of the select board, if my understanding of the mechanics works.
It would be super cool to get Tin Mountain has the environmental year with Jackson Grammar 456. It'd be super cool to get the 5th and 6th graders out there doing water quality monitoring for the
Yeah.
town. You know, every couple of months, checking macros, looking at dissolved oxygen. We'd certainly do turbidity, like 6th graders can do all that kind of stuff. That'd be super cool, especially if it was like actual
This is real stuff.
data that gets
And
used
you
by the
could-
town.
You could graph it and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
that'd be really, that'd be a cool project, so.
All right.
If there's a mandate in there, let me know, and I'll
Yeah, it sounds like step 1 is to read the plan again.
Yeah,
I don't
I
remember
can-
ever seeing anything like that.
So
I've
he-
never read the thing cover to cover.
He kind of highlighted, he circled a couple things. I imagine this was him. And then he has a little thing, it says dates sampled, and it says, who has this information, question mark. And the sample chart only goes to 2002.
Do you want to maybe send that email to everybody? Is that
Yeah.
possible? So then we have some.
I assume it's the same management plan that's on the town website.
It should be. I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
just
that-
says Wildcat River Comprehensive River Management Plan.
Yeah, we have one.
Headwater, headwater segment.
Yeah, that's on the,
Uh-huh.
And then this one
Well, that
says
could conceivably be the Forest Service up top.
River-wide management direction. Yeah. So,
that's
Those are-
because we have procedures.
I like the idea of the school building too. I think that'd be cool.
let me forward that to you guys.
We don't know what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, it's good things to do. Well, I guess we can all make an effort to read it, see what we're supposed to do, and then if it seems appropriate, ask
Get the
Tin
kids
Mountain
involved.
to, yeah.
Is it through Tin Mountain?
What's that?
Getting the kids involved?
I mean, it can be. They do, Tin Mountain does, they call it the environmental year, so they go into the classroom once a week
Mm-hmm.
for 34 weeks throughout the year. So that's like a good, and next year it's with the upper house, the 5th and 6th graders, so it'd be an easy way to fold it in.
So you're thinking next year? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it would be, starting, so. you know,
Well, let's do this.
September.
I'd be happy to look at the plan again and then we can,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously you want to structure the water quality monitoring plan so that it fits
Do you care which one?
the plan.
yeah, and it's possible that the 7 sites that have already been picked are inaccessible for a 5th grader, I don't know, we have to see.
I do know there are like different state protocol thing, so I don't
Yeah.
know if it's one of the like you use.
Well, I have, well, it's probably 5 years old now, but I have the DES volunteer water quality monitoring worksheets.
Oh, cool.
So I have them at work, so.
Yeah.
And they're pretty basic, they're not much, I mean, very easy for like for their superior to do.
That's good. The only time I've ever heard the town doing it is the town of Jefferson does it on the Israel River, and I feel like their conservation commission fights over who has to do it.
Look for stone finance. Alright.
That's what I've got for this part. What Pat asked us to do for knotweed pulling, although he did like the bulk of it, there's a memorial bench on the side of the stone bridge on the uphill side by the town gazebo, which the Conservation Commission actually technically owns, which is kind of funny if you look at the property records. Anyway,
Who
totally
owns
aside.
it? The conservation?
The Conservation Commission, the little gazebo by the ice skating rink.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you, back when we were looking at the.
We'll rent it out for weddings and we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
We'll have surplus cash real fast.
Yeah.
The town just dock us for the extra ones.
Yeah.
It'll be taxed heavily.
Yeah. But there's that little bench there, and Pat was having a hard time getting to pulling the knotweed, and the family that donated the bench was like, hey, can you make it so we can see the river from the bench, please?
Yeah, I tackled it last year.
And Pat looked like he went to and like got the easy stuff, but there's still some more things a little bit further down the bank. So if we could go and pull the knotweed, and then Pat said we could put it on the pavement up by his garage,
Yeah.
let it die in the sunlight, and then he will deal with getting rid of
Yeah,
it.
last year I just knocked it down.
Yeah.
I didn't pull it or anything, I just knocked it down.
Okay.
And that worked. It
Yeah.
basically died off.
So basically you stomp on
Hmm?
it. You stomp on
Yeah,
it.
I did, I stomped on it. And you can see, which is what lady wanted. She was at the board meeting, Board of Selectmen meeting last year. And they said the same thing, we're not gonna be able to get around to it.
Yeah.
And that's a year ago. And so the day after the meeting, I just went over and just basically stepped on it.
We should endow the benches with knotweed pulling buttons.
You said
Well,
people
you
who
couldn't
donate
pull
them
it.
have to take care of their own knotweed.
You couldn't pull it based on what was there, it just,
So I don't know if all 6 of us need to go over, but anyone that wants to, we can.
Wanna
either
do that
stop
now?
it or- Yeah, if you
good,
have that line. we
I
can
brought stuff.
Yeah,
We can put it in my van. I
okay.
didn't pull the trailer because I
It doesn't look like that much, but if we can just bring it up to the
Yeah.
pavement. and then
got room.
Pat said once it's dead, he can deal with it.
It'll dry pretty quick.
And then
Yeah.
take a stump them.
Yeah.
Because I've never tried to take it to the actual transfer station, and I don't know what the rules are on bringing invasive species to the burn pit up there, but
So does that mean we have, are we just simply moving the meeting or are we actually doing?
I guess we would end the meeting officially, but continue it. I guess well, no, we can't.
Do we have a special RSA for this?
For
For field trip?
transferring.
Yeah, so that'll end the office part of the meeting, and we're gonna go out there and pull knotweed, and then that'll be the
So
end.
we're not officially adjourned.
Well,
the
like
best
you said, you
behavior.
can't
Are
have
enough of
more
us
than
gonna,
three people
wait a
together
minute, there's
without-
enough of us to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Best behavior.
all right. Thanks for coming, everyone.
thank you for,
This was
you know, leading.
I'll put this in the files.